How we doing? Today's Wednesday, April 16th. Nasdaq closed over 8,000 today. 8,000 even and 22 cents, but still closed over 8,000. Dow was up 68 points, closed at 26,452. Market's still heading up. Biggest loser that I see today is actually a stock that I own is Chinese car manufacturer NIO was down over 6% today. NIO is down to $4.45. This stock IPO'd at $6.30 and doubled not long after it IPO'd up to $13, and now it's back under five. I've got kind of mixed feelings on NIO. I didn't invest a lot of money into it just because I knew there was a lot of risk involved. I'm not panicking, I guess, the amount of money that I have into it, especially after a 30% loss, is not very significant. So I think I'm just going to hold on to my NIO shares. That's the nice thing about not going all in on a stock is that if it drops, 30% like NIO has, there's no need to panic. If you've got more money in it than you can afford, then you probably need to panic. But even if NIO goes to zero, yeah, I'll be out a little bit of money. But you know what? I'd be pretty surprised if that happened. I think there's still a lot of upside in NIO. It might take a few years to realize that upside, but I'm not ready to sell my shares just yet. That was actually the only stock that I follow that was down over 5% today. We had more winners than losers today. A stock that I was debating buying a while back here was probably about the same price that it is now, but it's gone up pretty good recently. It's a copper miner, a small copper miner. Ticker symbol TGB is Taseko Mines. It was up 7.5% today. That stock is, copper prices have fallen a lot. If you're a huge copper bull, I'm not a huge copper bull, but I believe the prices are going to go up in the future. And part of that is because of what we just talked about is electric vehicles. Electric vehicles take, I don't want to throw out a number, but I know that they take a lot more copper than a gas-powered car does. A lot more. I want to say 10 times more. So, if electrical vehicles grow in demand like is forecasted, copper prices should rise, and so should the copper miners. So that would be a nice play on a copper miner. It's leveraged, obviously, a smaller company. It's trading under $1 right now. So that would be one. It's an interesting one. I almost pulled the trigger on that one, and I ended up buying some Freeport instead, which that stock has done really well since I've bought it too. So I just bought Freeport just because it was kind of a bigger, more established company. A lot of upside there to these copper miners. Progressive was up. Usually you don't see Progressive on the big upside or downside. There seems like they're a pretty stable company. You don't see a lot of big moves. But they were up 7% today. Wow, if you ever look at the chart on Progressive, that is quite a chart. Progressive after today is sitting at an all-time high. I think they've even split before. What is Progressive valued at? Let me check here. All right, 45 billion. Yeah, that's about what I would have guessed. I guess I was thinking 50 billion was my first thought. So, I'm not really into the insurance side of. I don't know a whole lot about insurance stocks, but obviously, if you look at the chart, I mean, Progressive hit $10 in 2009. Here we are sitting at 77. So it's pretty amazing what that stock has done. Can't argue with their performance, that's for sure. One stock that I think is a buy here, I almost bought some too back when it was I believe it was in the 30s or right around 40. and I just about pulled the trigger and bought something else. Um, there's just so many stocks, so many companies that I like that I just can't buy every single one. Um, but this company is one that I think it was right around 40 when I thought, man, I should, or 35 and I would have been looking at the chart. That would have been the perfect time to buy it. That was about the low. It was about 35, it looks like. But that's Ambarella, I believe you pronounce it, ticker symbol AMBA. They're a small company. They're only valued at 1.6 billion. That stock closed about $49 today. That stock in 2015 was spiked up to 120. So it's still um, over 50% down from that spike. I think one of the main reasons is because they were a huge supplier to GoPro. And if you know anything about stocks or follow corporations at all, you've probably seen the downfall of GoPro, and Ambarella kind of came down with them. But I read an article today. I wanted to see why they're up 5.5% today, and I wanted to see why. And I'm, I wish I would have bought when it was under $40. But I don't think it's too late for Ambarella. I don't think it's too late. I'm a huge, if you've ever watched any of my videos or know me, you'll know that I'm a huge driverless car fan. I think you get into any driverless car stocks that you can before it really goes mainstream and before cars actually are driverless. I think that's when you get in. And Ambarella today unveiled a mapping platform for autonomous vehicles. So that was, let's see, Ambarella partners also with someone to develop automated parking system. So that's pretty interesting. Um, and they have camera chips. I know I've heard a while back. Actually, when I started to get interested in them, the reason was I read an article that they were starting to get into, like the cameras. All these autonomous vehicles are going to have cameras all over them. And Ambarella was a company that was going to supply chips for these cameras. I think GoPro was actually mentioned too, that it could be kind of a long shot, to get in the autonomous vehicle market. But I think Ambarella is probably a better bet. I think they're more diversified. They've kind of diversified away from GoPro. GoPro is, I don't think, is their biggest customer anymore. Um, so I think that's, especially at only 1.6 billion, I'd say that's anytime a company is getting into a fast growing market and they have a small market cap, that they're always a takeover candidate. I wouldn't be surprised if you wake up any day here and Ambarella gets bought out, for $2 or $3 billion. That wouldn't surprise me one bit. That's not why you buy the stock. I mean, that's not why you buy it. Don't buy a stock banking on that, because most of the time you're going to be disappointed. But if that doesn't happen, I still think you have a lot of growth in Ambarella if they can get into that market. Because that, in my opinion, that market is just going to be insanely huge. It's just going to be a revolution in the way we travel. It really is. Vehicles are just going to look different. Um, if you can think of what vehicles looked like 20, 30 years ago, I think it's going to be even a more drastic change 20, 30 years from now compared to what vehicles look like right now. And 20, 30 years from now, you might still have the option to drive your car if you want, but I think just about every vehicle is going to be equipped with autonomous software where you can just put it on autopilot if you want. So I would buy some Ambarella, still under $50. If you want to wait till it gets above 50, make sure it keeps that uptrend going. Look at the chart there. It looks pretty nice. I mean, who's to say the market doesn't tank here and it's going to take that's always my concern, is that the market in general tanks and it's just going to take everything with it. But if it does, especially if it does, this is a stock that you got to pick up. I think if you're lucky enough for it to sneak under 40, if it gets under 40 again, I'm going to buy some more. I'm kind of kicking myself not for buying some when I saw it under 40, but sometimes sometimes you get a second chance. So if it gets under 40 bucks here, I'm gonna definitely buy some Ambarella. So, and NIO is one of those stocks where when I first bought it, I thought, I didn't put a lot of money into it, and I thought, you know what, if it gets under five, like I thought maybe it could. I didn't think it would happen this fast, but I thought if it gets under five, I'll just buy some more. And then sometimes things change. Sometimes your opinion changes. Sometimes stocks fall for a good reason. Sometimes there's a legitimate reason where you're like, "Oh, I didn't look at it that way, or I didn't realize that their finances were that poor." So, NIO is one where I'm not going to sell the shares that I have. I'm definitely holding on to it. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I'm going to buy anymore either. So I think for now, I'm just gonna. There's just so many companies that I like that I don't see why I should probably invest more into one company. So okay. Wait, I should add this to the description. I'm gonna do that before we leave here. Vuzix. If you've ever watched my videos, you're familiar with Vuzix. They call them smart glasses that they make. I always make fun of their articles that they. So I don't know if it's a CEO or their marketing department. I suppose that every time the stock starts to go down, they release some PR newswire bullshit to try to pump the stock back up. So there's still some idiots out there. I see the stock was up 4% today. Um, if you read the article that they released today, I was just chuckling as I'm reading. It's exactly, I've talked about this so many times. It's exactly what I talk about all the time. Just released today. Okay, here it is. Here's the headline: Vuzix boosts blade production and expands its functionality. I can't believe there's idiots out there that still fall for this. And then you read the article. I'm just pulling up the article. My tablet's being a little slow, but it's just hilarious to me. PR Newswire. If you're familiar with any of these, I always check the source of these stories. PR Newswire is one that are these reports or articles are self-published by the company themselves. Okay, so they can say anything they want. Vuzix in the past has straight out lied. They've bragged about awards that they've never gotten. Um, they release articles about some release date where these advanced smart glasses are going to come out, and then the date comes around and it never happens. Um, Everything that they do is an attempt to boost their share price. In the past, shareholders have finally started figuring it out, and they haven't gotten as big of a boost. I kind of thought it was funny today that they got and maybe it was just because the markets were up, but they got a 4% boost today because of this bullshit article. It's not coming up for some reason, but if you want to read it, you can. I did read it. I skimmed through it earlier today. It was kind of funny. It was just, you could just, by reading it, you could tell it was by the company. Um, just it didn't even hardly make any sense when I was reading. I was like, what? Like, it just, as an investor or a consumer or whatever, it just didn't even make any. It was a poor attempt again by Vuzix to try to pump up their stock price. A more relevant article that I read today, I don't remember where I saw it, maybe a CNBC article, I think, where there was a company or multiple, because there was like 14, they said, where today on Amazon, there was all of a sudden, there was just all these 5-star reviews. There was one company they didn't have any reviews, and then all of a sudden today they have 435 5-star reviews, and I couldn't help think of Vuzix because they do the same thing. If you go look at their Amazon, at their glasses that are listed on Amazon, most people rate them like 1, 2 stars because they don't fucking work. The app doesn't work. They're just garbage. And then they've got this and then in between those, they'll have like a 5-star rating with some guy who just brags them up, for 2 paragraphs. It's like you can just tell it's the company is the one writing these 5 star. They've written so many that they've actually kept their rating like 3.5 or something like that out of 5. Um, they're pretty hilarious company, really. If you have any shares in Vuzix, I, you should sell them. You should definitely sell them if you like shorting stocks. I mean, I guess you're maybe in the game kind of late, but I think Vuzix probably is going to eventually go to zero. So I guess you could still make money off it, but um, ever since I think when I first started calling Vuzix out on these bullshit articles, and the worthless glasses that they make, I think the stock was right around $8. If you look back at my videos, any time I've got Vuzix listed in the description, it was right around $8, I think. And the stock closed today, even with a 4% gain, it closed at $2.86. So, I'm obviously not the only one that's kind of figured out what's going on with this company, but it's it's still pretty amazing. I guess there's always people out there trying to make some easy money. They think, oh, I'm going to buy some shares of this tiny little smart glass maker, and they're going to just be the next big thing. Well, that does happen maybe once in a while, but it ain't going to happen here. So, all right. Well, I guess that's all I got for today, I think, as far as big movers. So why don't we catch up again tomorrow and see if the Nasdaq can stay above 8,000 tomorrow?